My name is Emma. I am 23 years old, and I live in California. If you met me today, you might see me smiling at my cashier station in Walmart, chatting with customers, or walking down my neighborhood streets with steady steps. But it wasn't always this way. For a long time, I lived in silence, not because I didn't speak, but because my life felt heavy, quiet, and closed inside. I want to share how something as simple as walking, something I once thought was ordinary and meaningless, changed my life. When people look at me at work, they see a cashier, the girl who rings up groceries, hands out change, smiles, and says, "Have a nice day." What they don't see is the weight I carry when I stand at my register for hours. My shift is long. I stand on my feet, greeting hundreds of people, scanning their items, answering questions, and sometimes dealing with frustration. By the end of the day, my legs ache. My back burns. My smile feels painted on, like a mask I wear until I finally clock out. Last year, when I was 22, my body began to feel older than me. My legs felt heavy, my shoulders tight, and my energy gone. I would come home and collapse onto my bed or couch, turning on the TV and letting it wash over me until I fell asleep. I ate fast food most nights, burgers, fries, soda. It was easy, quick, and cheap. But afterward, I felt even heavier. I didn't talk to my friends anymore. I told myself I was too tired, but the truth was I didn't want them to see me like that, dull, lazy, empty. I was only 22, but I felt like life was already passing me by. I thought maybe this was adulthood, working, eating, sleeping, repeating. But deep inside, I felt sad. One night, after a particularly hard shift, my back hurt so much I could barely stand. I sat on my bed and cried. No one saw me, no one knew. I didn't even know why I was crying. It wasn't just the pain, it was something deeper. I felt lost. The next morning was Saturday, and for once I didn't have to work. I woke up early, before the world outside was fully awake. I looked out the window, and the sun was shining. The sky was blue, and the street was quiet. Something inside me whispered, "Go outside." I hesitated. My old shoes sat by the door, worn and plain. I didn't plan anything. I didn't even think of it as exercise. I just stepped outside. The air touched my face, cool and fresh. I walked slowly down the street, my legs stiff at first. I made it to the end of the block, then turned around. It wasn't far, maybe 10 minutes. But I noticed things I hadn't seen in so long, flowers blooming, people walking their dogs, the way the sunlight touched the leaves. My breath was fast, my legs felt strange, but I liked it. It felt different from standing at work. It wasn't pain. It was movement. The next day, I walked again. This time, I went around the block, past the corner store. I saw a boy riding his bike. He waved at me, and I waved back. That small connection, as simple as a hand lifted in the air, made me feel seen. That was the beginning. At first, it was just 10 minutes a day. But after a week, something had changed. My body felt a little lighter, and my mood shifted. I started sleeping better. I wanted more water instead of soda. My legs hurt less at work. My back didn't scream as much when I bent to pick up a bag. I smiled more, not just at customers because I had to, but at people I passed on my walks. Some smiled back, some didn't, going, "Emma, keep walking." And I did. After a month, walking wasn't something I had to remind myself to do. It became a part of me, as natural as brushing my teeth. Some days I walked in the morning before work, breathing in the cool air and letting it fill me with calm before the rush of the store. Other days I walked after my shift, shaking off the stress of rude customers or heavy lines. I didn't walk fast. I didn't wear fancy clothes or headphones most of the time. I just walked, present with the world. And the world started to show itself to me. I noticed the old man who sat outside his house every evening. One day he smiled and said, "You're fast." I laughed and replied, "Not really." He chuckled and waved. I saw an elderly woman watering her flowers every morning. She always waved at me, and I waved back. That simple routine became something I looked forward to. One evening, I saw a woman crying on a bench. I didn't know what to say, so I just smiled softly at her as I passed. She lifted her head, tears on her cheeks, and gave me a small smile back. That moment stayed with me. Sometimes, we don't need big words, just a little kindness. At Walmart, my coworkers noticed the difference. "You look good, Emma," one said. "You're happier these days," another told me. I smiled and answered, "I walk every day now. It helps." Some of them were curious. A few even said they wanted to try walking, too. That made me proud. Walking gave me patience at work. Customers could be rude, lines could be long, and my feet could ache, but I knew I had my walk waiting for me. That thought carried me through. One day, a man shouted at me because the line was slow. My chest tightened, my eyes burned, but I stayed calm. I finished my shift, and then I walked home. The air cooled my anger, the quiet street held me, and soon I felt okay again. Walking opened doors to people I never would have met otherwise. A man with a small dog who barked at me. He laughed and said, "Sorry, she thinks she owns the park." I smiled and said, "She's cute." He replied, "She keeps me going." I said, "Same for me. I walk to feel strong." He nodded. Walking is the best. A child pointed at my pink shoes and said, "You have pink shoes." I laughed and said, "Yes, I like them." Her mother smiled, and that tiny moment stayed with me all day. An old man with a walking stick once told me, "Keep walking. It keeps the heart young." His words felt like a blessing. My friend Lucy, who works with me, once asked, "Emma, how do you stay so calm?" I said, "I walk every day." She asked to join me. Now, on Saturdays, we walk together, talking about life, family, and dreams. Sometimes we laugh so much our steps slow down. Other times we walk in silence, just enjoying the rhythm of our feet. I walked through spring, when flowers opened and the air smelled sweet. I walked through summer, when the heat pressed down and I chose evening walks under orange skies. I walked through fall, when leaves crunched under my shoes and the wind cooled my face. I walked through winter, with a jacket zipped tight, my breath making little clouds in the air. Every season gave me something new. One rainy day, I saw a little girl in a yellow raincoat jumping in puddles, water flying everywhere as she laughed. Her mother smiled. I waved, and she waved back. The rain no longer felt sad, it felt alive. Walking changed more than my legs. It changed how I lived. I stopped craving fast food. Instead, I cooked simple meals: rice, eggs, soup, vegetables. I ate fruit in the mornings and drank more water. My body felt lighter, cleaner. I started sleeping better. I went to bed earlier, woke up earlier, and sometimes didn't even need an alarm. My body knew it was time to rise, time to walk. My mind grew calmer. I didn't snap in anger as easily. I didn't carry sadness so heavily. When I felt low, instead of hiding in bed, I stepped outside. The walk always helped. Always. I used to think exercise had to be hard, fast, or expensive. But walking taught me that strength can be soft, slow, and quiet. Each step, no matter how small, mattered. One step became two. Two became a block. A block became a street. A street became a habit. And a habit became a better life. Walking gave me balance. It gave me peace. It gave me myself. Now, I walk when I'm happy. I walk when I'm sad. I walk when I feel lost. I walk when I don't know what I feel. And every time, I come back home lighter, calmer, more alive. My mom called me recently and said, "Emma, you sound different." I told her, "I feel different." She said, "You sound happy." I smiled and said, "I am." She laughed and said maybe she should start walking too. I told her, "Let's walk when I visit." I started walking because I was lost. Because I was in pain. Because I didn't know what else to do. One small step changed everything. So if you ever feel tired, sad, or stuck, I hope you remember this. A good day does not always just happen. Sometimes, you must start it. And sometimes, all it takes is one step. If you liked my story, please like, comment, and share. More simple and emotional stories are coming.